It's time for a winter break challenge. It's Auntie Laura here, and I'm going to lead you through this challenge. First, you need a fat quarter or a quarter yard of your favorite fabric from pick a fabric store. And then you'll need a small sewing kit, a small pair of scissors, nice sharp ones, a large button. So you can share with friends on this one, but you need an extra large button. And then a package of 1/4 inch elastic. You can use 1/8 of an inch if you have it, but 1/4 inch is better. And then a small spool of button and craft thread. I suggest this because it's a little heavier duty, it's easier to thread, and there'll be less frustration. Then a sheet of felt. Now you'll need a couple other things. You'll need some sandwich bags and some 1/4 inch grosgrain ribbon, but we'll get to that later. First, you're going to cut a square 7 inches by 7 inches of your felt and 7.5 inches by 7.5 inches of your fabric. So you have a lot of fabric left over. Then you'll take your felt, lay it in the center of your fabric so that the pretty side is down on your ironing board. Then you're going to fold the edges of the fabric over the felt and iron it so you get the size correct. Then you'll take the felt out of the center and you're going to press the fabric again to make sure it's nice and clean and really tightly press those edges. Then you'll lay the felt back on top of your fabric. Check to make sure that your edges line up really clean. If they don't, press it in again. Now it's time for the needle and thread. It's not that scary, guys, I promise. So you're going to take your thread, loop it all the way in. First. Got to pin your fabric to your felt just so it doesn't shift and move as you're doing this sewing along the edge. Now back to your needle and thread. You're going to fold your thread so it's all the way folded in half and tie a knot. Then you'll separate the 2 layers of your fabric and you'll go out through the center so that your knot stays in between the 2 layers. And then you're going to do the running stitch. If you did a Swan Lake costume with me last year, you remember the running stitch. You're basically just going to go around the edge of your fabrics. So through both fabric, here's me doing it, through both pieces of fabric, around the top. So you're always entering on the same side. So right here you see that I'm entering always through the black and then through the other fabric and around. And around and around and around. You need to do all 4 sides. Now, you're also going to need to tie off the thread because you'll have to do multiple sets. So to tie off your thread, wrap your thread around your needle a couple times and then pull it tight. See there? And then you'll snip your thread off. So go ahead and snip it generously because you're going to tuck that inside the 2 layers of your fabric. So it'll stay hidden, you'll never see it, but it'll make it easier here in a moment when you start again. You're going to rethread your needle. Again, the button and craft thread makes it very easy. Rethread your needle. Get it directly in half and then tie a knot at the tying the 2 ends together. Oh, well. It is easier, I promise, than regular thread, but there we go. Thread it through, fold it in half. And tie a knot. Now again, I've left the end long because it's going to go in between your fabric and it's going to be hidden, so not a big deal. Okay, so you're going to start the same way you did before. Go right next to where you just were and go through one layer of fabric, pull it all the way through to the knot, then make sure that all your thread goes inside in between the two layers of fabric. And then continue your running stitch until all 4 sides are done and you've met up with where you began. Through the black, out the regular side. You make it just a nice clean edge. Now we have, once you're through with all of that, you're gonna lay your 1/4 inch grosgrain ribbon. All you need is 8 inches of it, or about 7.5 inches. 8 inches gives you a little more play. You're gonna lay it across your fabric, across your square, so that it sits at the 3-inch mark and roughly the 3.25 mark. Then you're going to do that running stitch right over the edge. So you're going to fold the edge of the ribbon in between and do the running stitch. Do it on both sides. When you're done with that, you'll slide 6 Ziplock bags underneath the ribbon. I pin the Ziplock bags because they're slippery, and they will move all over the place if you don't pin them. But do not pin them on the side that has the opening side, because you're not going to want holes in that side, okay? So pin them on the other side. You can also use snack size Ziplocs as well, and then you won't have to trim them in a minute. But again, I had sandwich ones in my cabinet. We're not looking to spend a lot of money. We're just looking to make something really cool for your dance bag so that you're always prepared. All right, so now I'm using a rather large stitch, and we're just going to make kind of a make-believe zigzag stitch. So you're going to go in, you'll go into the fabric through all the layers, pop out your right side of the fabric, so the side you'll see. Then you'll go right back up, just a small little stitch, and into, to come back out the side with the ribbon. And you're just going to zigzag the whole way down the ribbon, a little bit at a time. Don't put your zigzags too close together, because you don't want to make it like a perforation and your Ziploc bags just fall out. So keep them fairly long stitches, but solid and strong on that. Kind of how I did it here. So here's the finished zigzag all the way down the Ziplocs. You can see it's fairly big stitching, since it didn't take overly long. Then you're going to cut, if you use sandwich Ziplocs, you'll cut the additional off. Leave yourself about 1/4 to 1/2 inch of Ziploc, just so that if they do start to pull, you don't have a problem. Now, to sew on a button, it's the same as tacking. So when it comes time for costumes, if you have to tack something, it's a super easy X. So all you do, buttons kind of help you learn tacking, okay? So you're going to go up through one hole, down the other, and then cross, make a little X. Super simple.
Do it a few times to make sure it's on there real secure. Go as tight as you can. So go closest to the center of the circles when you go in. That way you'll know that the button's not going to like flop around everywhere and get loose. So it'll be nice and tight on there. That'll help you later on. So I put the button is on the side opposite where the tabs for the ziplocks are. And then here's me tying a knot. You can see there's the cut edge of the ziplocks are on the same side as the button. Okay, so the button goes on the side with the cut edge of your sandwich size ziplocs or the edges of your snack size ziplocs, whichever one you choose to use because you have it in your cabinet. So now you see it's folded over. You take roughly 3-4 inches of elastic, doesn't have to be very much, just enough that you're going to be able to go around that button. And you're going to make a loop, and you want to set your loop where so it lines up with the button. So you want to set it at the same spot, which both should be kind of right in the center of those sides. So the elastic's going to get sewn on the side that has the openings of the ziplocs. So you'll just flop those out of the way and sew on your elastic. Remember, elastic's stretchy, so unless you sew it really small loop, it should go right around there and help hold everything in and keep your kit closed. So when I sewed it on, all I did was make the loop and then sew a straight stitch back and forth across the elastic right at the edge. Thread the needle, tie the knot. If you need to fast forward, do it. It's me tying a knot. Knot, yes. Even experience seems just as changed than I decided to do it a different way. There we go. Just a straight little stitch right at the edge. In, out, in, out, in, out. Nothing fancy. It's just a straight, what I'd call a gathering stitch. Only we're not gathering it. If you think of the mice in Cinderella when they're sewing her dress on, you know. So in and out, in and out, in and out, back and forth. You see I started at the center, so I went down, and then I'm coming back up, and then I'll go up and come back down. That way I know that I got a good solid 2 passes on each side of the loop. So again, if you think you got it, go ahead and fast forward here if you want to follow along. Normal time. Now I'm tying that knot again, wrapping the thread around the needle 2 times, and then pulling it tight. Okay, this as I can. There we go. Then we'll cut off the thread and cut off the extra elastic. Ouch!
Okay, then you've got your loop done. Look at that. You can now close your kit. But we're not done. Now, because my scissors kept disappearing, everybody make sure they keep their small scissors with them. So you're going to lay out 2 small pieces of elastic underneath your scissors and mark the edge. Mark real close to the edge of your scissors, because remember, elastic stretches, with a Sharpie marker or a pen. Keep it pretty close to the top, because when you put the scissors in, after it's sewn, like you see here, so all you do is you do that back and forth, just like you did on the other elastic. Once it's sewn in, it will slide down a little farther into there than you planned. Now, guess what? You did it! It's done! It's ready to be filled with everything that you would need to survive a theater show, competition, or recital in an emergency costume situations. So you'll have your needles and thread, safety pins, some thread, of course, more thread. Usually pick the colors that you have for your costumes, hair bands and bobby pins, band-aids, and fashion tape, and of course your scissors. So now this is a challenge. There will be prizes. Not sure what the criteria is going to be for the judging yet, but please go ahead, get started, and I'll let you know those criteria very soon. Can't wait to see what you create.